United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Planning Board of the Town of Wakefield for July 11th. We need to seat any alternates. Donna, would you like to sit in? Okay. Donna will be sitting in for David. Any public comment out there for anything other than what's on the agenda? Not hearing any. We got a conceptual review for Mark, Lucy, and Dick DeRoche for the Gaffney Library edition.
So I want the minutes to reflect that I'm stepping down as a voting member. Not asking for a vote. I'll even move to a new location on that.
Good evening, folks. Good evening. I'm Mark Lucy, senior design engineer, White Mountain Survey and Engineering, just south of here in Ossipee. And I have been working with Dick in the library for months now. And I recognize my colleague, James Rhines, has come before the board also in preliminary nature. And we're here this evening. I'll hand it off to Dick at this point, but we're here this evening to continue on that same discussion.
So this bring you up to speed from where we were here last. We were here last, we had a bigger addition. After Jim and his staff looked at the site, they recommended that we reduce the size in order to meet the setback requirements on the wetlands and also the water management on the site. So we did that. We're beginning to proceed with the fundraising aspect of our project and some of the design, preliminary design. But before we did that, we wanted to come back to the planning board with the additional information on the water management. And that's what Mark is here to explain tonight. So we need basically three things from the planning board ultimately. The waiver on the setback, or the allowance to go to a smaller setback. We're not going to be building in or up to the wetlands, but we would be building within the 30-foot setback. So the last time we were here, we talked in terms of a 10-foot setback that we could meet. That plan there shows a 10-foot setback. The second thing is basically because the groundwater here is at times above the level of the ground, unfortunately, there's just no way that this site can be built on unless we can get a waiver on some of the water management. Because any additional roof you build will generate more water, and we're taking advantage of the demolition of the existing building. The barber shop will be demolished and all of the pavement and that sort of thing removed on that site. But then we'll be adding 2,500 feet of roof. So that's basically where we're at this point. If we're going to go forward with the project, we will in fact, and I realize this is not binding,
Right.
but ultimately we will need to have the setback requirement and the water management, some relief on those two items. So that's why we're here to talk about that and to see what additional information the board might want, or what you might suggest at this point.
Just a reminder, and Dick, thanks for letting me know too, and I know you're a planning board member. It's definitely conceptual.
Right.
Everything that we say here, both parties, is non-binding in any way, shape, or form.
Can I just ask a question what he just said? He just said that this, whatever he's doing here is gonna add more water and he's looking for a waiver. So my question would be, how does this add more water? If that wasn't there, you'd still get the same amount of rain, you still get the same amount of everything that's on that same square footage. So how does that add water?
So this here is impervious, the building.
I understand that.
So this area now that they're gonna make bigger is gonna become impervious.
But my point is
So
how does it
can't go in
add
the ground.
water?
It can't go in the ground here.
Yeah,
So it adds more water off.
Somewhere else?
Yes, off quicker.
But the rain that comes from the sky still fills that whole spot.
That's right.
So how do you
So
get
that
more
doesn't
water?
change. That doesn't change. I think the idea is that, just like what Tom was saying, is if you had, just pretend there's nothing on that site right now, right?
Yeah.
And the rain comes down and there's no water issues on that property, and it all gets infiltrated into the soil, so nothing's running off.
But there is still some runoff, because it
So-
can't always run.
So what he should say
hypothetically
is the
speaking.
amount of water that leaves the premises. It doesn't gain more
Doesn't
water because it's
necessarily-
the same water that comes from the sky and onto
It
the
doesn't
property.
necessarily mean it's gonna leave the premises, it just means that there's more,
We're collecting more water.
we're collecting more
We're-
water.
We're not allowing, there's more area where water can't go into the ground, and we get that.
right.
The problem with this site, and all sites in this general area, is the groundwater is so high that when that water hits the ground, it isn't gonna percolate because there's no place for it to go. Because at times, my board member who was sitting here, my friend who was sitting here, said he's seen water shooting 2 feet up out of the open catch basin in the back when it backs up from the river. So the groundwater definitely is very close to the surface during real wet weather. And that's the problem for us, because if we could percolate this water down, if the groundwater was 6 feet down, we could put in a retention basin that would let the water sink into the ground there. We'd collect it rather than run it off, but there's no place for it to go.
So it's getting rid of the water. It's not getting more water. It's
right,
removing.
the same amount
water.
of water, but we end up with.
I just want to clarify that
We have
because
to
there's not
deal-
any
we have
more
to
water
deal
can
with
go
more
there
water.
other than what falls on the same spot.
But it does go faster, too.
Yeah, but
Does go
that wasn't
fast.
my point. My point was is it's not more.
It's not
just
more, but
you need. Correct.
by adding the building, you're taking away that ground where the water normally would be absorbed.
Would be absorbed,
Now
correct.
it's hitting the roof, collecting, and either it's
No, I
coming
understand.
off at a greater area in a smaller area, the runoff from the roof, the gutters and so forth.
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
If you'd like, I can
Go ahead, Mark.
summarize
Yeah.
all that you've said, so it might make
A little
more
more, a
sense.
little
There's
bit.
grass on the ground.
Yeah, don't big league us too much with some engineering stuff.
Everything that everyone has just said is true, but there are other aspects of stormwater runoff that are less obvious. When the ground is dry, when there's grass, you're going to have a lot of the water, it's the same amount of water falling out of the sky, but it's going to get held up in the grass. Some is going to be absorbed by the grass. Some is going to evaporate. When that same amount of water hits a tile roof or a shingle roof, it's going to do some evaporation, but for the most part, it's going to move swiftly off the roof, that hard surface, into a gutter system. And that gutter system is what we would anticipate directing to a very shallow depression. In fact, the calculations show a 600 square foot depression, 12 inches deep, would be enough to attenuate the peak in runoff, peak rate, not the volume. The volume will increase by 1/1800ths of a cubic acre foot. 1/1800ths of an acre foot. Doesn't sound like much. 1/1800ths doesn't sound like much, but when you put it into
acre.
gallons, it'd be around 4,500, 5,000 gallons. Additional runoff at the peak unless we attenuate. The volume will only increase because the area that is now soil won't be soil. And although the groundwater is high, some rainwater will soak into the ground until the ground is saturated, the soil is saturated. So that's how You're all saying that, but I hope that I've been able to summarize it. You are correct, no more water
Yeah.
will fall.
So you've
You're
done the
correct that
you've done the
Yes,
calculations,
sir, I
and you
have.
think this pond would be pretty sufficient for
Yes.
what's happening here?
In fact, I did the calculations, what we call a 50-year storm, which 50 years ago, when I got into the industry, a 50-year storm was a 50-year storm. I would be experiencing my second one today. But past 10, 12, 15 years, there has been a change in the climate. And we're experiencing throughout the industry a problem. We're getting 100-year storms every couple of years, sometimes twice a year. Well, what we want to do here is, we've got to be reasonable, 50-year storm. And I believe that's your site plan review regulations. But it's impossible to keep the volume that runs off-site equal to or less than what the existing is. And that's a result of the type of soil and the level of the water table. As I was explaining to Dick earlier this evening, some towns still have this regulation on their books. You do. You don't want the peak runoff rate to increase, and you don't want the volume to increase running off-site. It's impossible. It's impossible to do both. We can keep the peak runoff rate at the same level as it exists today, but the volume, as you all just finished discussing, it's not going to go, it can't do it. So in order for the library to be here, or any new construction on this site, you need some relief from that portion of your regulation. Increased volume running off-site. Okay. The setback issue, I understand from my colleague James that he did discuss that with you. There's your 30-foot setback line. It would run through approximately one quarter to 1/3 of the proposed footprint. We would, the library would be seeking some relief from that portion of, whether it's site plan review regulations, a waiver request, or if it's a zoning issue.
It would be a
then
zoning
variance.
issue. You'd have to go to the zoning board for that.
Well, what it says though in the regs
Yeah.
is that the planning board has the right to reduce, I believe, is that not the one?
That's for the wetlands.
For the wetlands.
That's for the wetland setback.
And the runoff is the same.
Yes.
Wetlands is in the setback.
Right, we're talking about the building setback from the property line.
Oh, no, that one there. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize you were talking about
I
that.
didn't know. I apologize. I didn't articulate that well enough. The wetland setback goes through the building. And I am led to believe that you, as a planning board, can...
We can.
There we go.
We won't have an issue with that.
And in fact, we are...
I'm speaking for myself. I won't
No, I
have an issue
agree.
with that.
I agree with that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
The sideline setback, we
Yes.
definitely have to go to ZBA for that. And if that becomes a problem, then we would modify the footprint and stay within the setback, but we wouldn't have a choice.
And what Dick means by if that becomes a problem, in other words, if the library can't get that variance from the zoning board, then the building will simply be modified.
But the zoning board doesn't have, the reason we're not talking to the zoning board is they don't have an informal procedure. It's you either put an application in to get the variance or you don't. So since we're not even yet at the site plan approval stage, we decided we would leave that until the future. And we're, as I said, we're beginning to talk to potential donors, so once we feel comfortable that the money is available, then we'll proceed with the site plan presentation to the planning board and the ZBA presentation.
And procedurally, the library would need that variance in its collective pocket before coming and seeking site plan review approval. James and I have looked at the issue of the sideline setback. Both James and I sit on our respective town boards, zoning boards of adjustment, And the existing barber shop has a lot of existing building within the setback.
Correct.
It would be our goal to ensure that the addition has less encroachment than that. That
Yeah,
would be
to help
our
you out getting that
justification.
zone.
Right.
Yeah.
But we understand that is
Yeah,
the
that's,
purview of the.
I think that's
planning
gonna,
board.
right, and I think it's gonna be a bigger issue with your neighbor. You guys can
Right.
deal with your neighbor
Right,
with that and
exactly,
those type
exactly.
things.
Right.
You know, you gotta show that hardship, and I
Yep.
think you're tearing down a building that's already tight, you know, so there's certain things there. I think you guys are all set there as far as you know what you gotta do there. One other thing I'd like to add though about the drainage. I know, you know, our other constituent here that's not here tonight mentioned the water coming out of the ground there 2 feet in the air. That is not water it's water that's coming down the hill and going through the drainage system and being backed up. It's not because the river's that high.
Okay, all right. that
Now,
could be.
we have fixed the pipe from there to the parking lot area. I'm not sure exactly what we did, but I think you guys should research that a little bit. And maybe there's a way, you know, maybe with AWA's help or something, because that's an area in town where I think that is a huge impact to the Branch River. And AWA and everybody else wants to protect our rivers and lakes all the time. You know, there's an outlet out there that goes right into the Branch River, that there could be some things there that could be helpful, you know, that, you know, they could maybe help out with. It should be looked at. I know I've mentioned it a few times that somebody should look at it.
I was not 100% clear what you're saying.
So all the drainage from off this
Right.
hill goes down and point
It ends
loads
up
into
in
the
the-
Branch River.
Right, exactly.
Out behind Long Meadows there
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yep,
Okay? And it's nothing that you really want to look at or write home about.
because it's picking up salt and oil.
It's
and
picking up
whatever.
everything from here, which it happens everywhere.
Right, right.
And I know as a town, you know, we should be monitoring certain outlets that go into our rivers and lakes. Certain outlets, they gotta meet a qualification and all that. I mean, they have to do it on the seacoast big time where it goes into the ocean or any areas that are tidal. And I know, you know, our town should be doing something to that nature too, I believe. And that's an area that all this water comes down, I think it could be helped with.
So by doing something on our site in the town's
No,
land?
but no, maybe not anything here, but maybe at that outlet, something could happen. You know, and even if it's homework, you know, not necessarily, you know, being able to do what's needed to control some of the, you know, pollution that might go into that, whether it be from here, you know, High Street, whether it be coming from, you know, the businesses along there or wherever, but maybe collectively, if you guys did some homework or research, maybe we could be more lenient here on this, you know, if something could happen there, and it just, whether it's research, it may, I don't think it's something AWA could possibly do. It might be some little things out there AWA could possibly do. But those are the areas I think would make the biggest impact versus some of the other things that we do around town. That, you know, like 5 miles away from the lakes, we want to make sure every ounce of water off of any home roof goes into the ground, and all kinds of other things that we want to do that I don't think we should do. I think those are the important areas, like that area, and there's 4 or 5 others in town that would really help our lakes that are huge areas that, you know, would make a huge impact to the water quality of the Branch River or to Pine River Pond or Bellow Lake, you know, or Balch Lake or Great East Lake even. So I think it would be helpful, I think, if you guys did a little research or got, you know, I know you're a little bit involved in AWA. You guys could do a little bit of research, or they could do a little bit of research of where that water actually goes.
Yeah,
Because you're gonna get other people on the planning board and other neighbors that are gonna say, hey, I've seen the water going out of there 2 feet. You guys should know that I believe
so you think it's.
a pipe has been fixed,
Yeah. It
that
is
may
backing
never
up.
happen
Yeah,
again.
it's
But
not backing.
still, that just gives you an idea, though, of how much water does come down High Street and comes down the street
Right.
next door, or where it all goes is huge.
Right.
in
Okay.
preparation for that research, once it gets underway, who would you suggest that I contact here at the town? Department of Public Works?
Yeah, that'd be a place to start.
Yeah, I would think they would have some kind of plans of what kind of drainage is out there now.
All right, then I'll be in touch with Victor when that time comes. Fair to say?
If that's something the library wants to do, I mean,
Well, no.
I think,
Whatever we need to do to make the case that, that these, what we're trying to do is reasonable, so, yeah, we certainly can look at that.
So I think what you're saying though is that regardless of the intent, there's going to be additional runoff from this site, even if it's small, right? And that maybe there's something that could be done off-site that would benefit the Branch River and other aspects of the town that hopefully might be somewhat inexpensive but impactful, and that might offset any
Correct.
additional water. I think
Correct,
that's what you're,
right, and
if possible.
right, because we wouldn't, I know this is a quasi-town
Sure.
agency,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, the library.
Yeah.
It's something that benefits the whole town.
Yep.
If
Yep.
people use it, or they're able to use it if they want to, they have a choice. I think we wouldn't let anybody else build that building right there on that
No,
spot with that drainage issue.
I think you're right.
Unless they were gonna help
Yeah,
do some
right.
kind of off-site improvement.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the library would have to do that off-site improvement, but maybe
Maybe
they
even
can do some
identify.
research, identify it,
Right,
because
right,
it's
sure.
been a problem forever, and it's
Yeah.
something that,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay, I get the
maybe
point, yeah. I get what you're
collaboratively
saying.
between the town, the DPW department, and an outside source, we may be able to do something fairly
Right,
simple out there that's gonna really help it.
okay.
Some
All right, gotcha.
mitigation suggestions.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, the
At least
library
figuring
does-
out how it actually works now, so we could, because at this point, we're sitting here, how much drainage, you know, where does it go, et cetera, nobody really
Yeah,
here
we
knows
just
that.
know we're gonna have public hearings on this.
Yep,
And we're gonna have a lot of people out there that don't use the library and don't want you guys to spend any money on it. So, with that being said, you know there's gonna be opposition
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form, and
Yeah.
we need to cover all bases, and we can't treat our town,
and
you know,
we're essentially commercial.
better basically than we treat all our townspeople.
Agreed. Okay, I think we get it.
Well, I'm sensing favorability, that we're on the right track as we move along the process.
Absolutely, I think favorability, and you guys can
Yeah.
speak anytime, but, you know, we want, people are working hard at trying to make a nice library for the town, or making it better, or whatever. They're doing the research, they know what's what, they're the experts on it, just like if a business come in, they working hard at trying to figure out what they want to do. I'm sure you guys are doing the same thing. So we're not here to stop people, but we're here to, you know, try to make sure that we can help all the way around.
Yep, got it.
Excellent.
All right,
Okay.
great.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Just put this down.
Sorry, hang on one second. Do we have any
Public comment?
public comment about the library? Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Could you just put a French drain like you would a field, and then, you know what I'm talking about, a trench, crushed stone?
The water table's too high there, but there are certain things like that that the engineer could come up with, but the water table being so high, I don't think that's gonna help much.
Yeah, that would be a solution in the field, done all the time, but you need that elevation drop, the outlet. And what we don't have here is that elevation drop.
Yeah. Or to get to that catch basin, basically, or that pipe height.
Exactly.
Anything else? All right. We'll close that conceptual review, and we have two more conceptual reviews. Next one, Jeff Denley, for 2305 Wakefield Road, tax map 166, lot 1, wedding/bar, wedding/farm event venue. Come on up, yeah. Tell us about it.
All right, well, what we want to do is kind of like what I did for my own wedding and turn the barn as part of the farm into a venue, reception hall, something to that effect. And in the zoning, it says I need a conditional use permit because it's zoned agriculture.
Does everybody know where we are?
Yeah.
We're 23,
Top
2305?
Top of the hill.
Yeah.
Oh, at the homestead? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know if it was up the street further.
So this is zone agriculture.
Yep, it's zoned ag.
It is zoned ag?
Yep.
It got changed?
I wrote it.
It's a farm.
When zoning first got passed.
Yeah, but I thought your land was an R1, or some of your land out back in R1?
No, it's all ag.
I thought it was very valuable land, I'm sorry.
So I guess conditional use permit.
What's the specific type in the table that it would fit under? 'Cause
What do you think?
That's what I would, yeah, I don't know. What were you looking at as far as,
Right there.
so you're bringing it under community center, meeting hall, reception hall? Yeah, that's the closest I could find
Okay.
that it came to.
And I looked
page?
and
I'm sorry, page 9, third one up from the top.
And since it is a working farm, it falls under the agritourism. And I printed out the RSAs in regards to that.
That's right.
So, and it says clearly the term agritourism means attracting visitors to a working farm for the purpose of eating a meal, making overnight stays, enjoyment of the farm environment, which would be, a venue type thing, education on farm operations, or active involvement in the activity of the farm. So I guess my question is, since I think it would fall under being allowed, what do I have to do to get a conditional use?
Page is that on?
That I don't know.
Sorry, but
That's right.
I stole,
I got another
I
one.
stole the good one. So, that's the table of contents, yeah.
Page 75.
So I'll just read it. The planning board may, in appropriate cases, the subject to safeguards as determined by the planning board, grant a conditional use permit per RSA for the land use in accordance with Table 1 of Article 3. The proposed use there's 7 criteria, I believe. There's 8, but one is for boat launch. The last one's for boat launch, which won't apply. So there's 7. And we can just run down through them real quick and see if we have any comments about them, which again, non-binding in any way, shape, or form. And I think, it's good that it's non-binding for a lot of reasons. You can be honest, we could say, certain things and none of it really means anything, because when then you get the public coming, and, things could change. Somebody could bring something up that changes somebody's opinion or what they think about a certain thing. So that's why it's a conceptual review. The proposed use, so number 1, the proposed use shall only those allowed in the ordinance by conditional use permit. Should meet that one, because it says you can get a conditional use permit. If we agree that that fits there.
Yep.
I think it fits.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yep.
The proposed use is or are consistent with the adopted master plan. I think so too, 'cause it's, country, it's keeping the farm, it's keeping the country. Which that's a big thing in our master plan. I'm sure there's others. The specific site is in an appropriate location and an adequate size for the use. They'd have to make the field a little bigger, probably.
It's a big wedding.
The use as developed will not adversely affect the character of the area which is proposed use will be located. I wouldn't say it would do that, right? They're not gonna change it, they're gonna keep it and use the venue
Yeah,
as.
nothing's gonna change from the outside. It's
Right.
gonna look like the farm.
There will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. It sounds like they could get off the road pretty well there. Go ahead, Vic.
Yeah, well, I was just wondering about that being up at the top of the hill around the corner. I mean,
Yeah,
where would
this-
they be coming?
Traffic, I would
Obviously,
think,
they
would
have to
be
park
something you're
off
gonna have to
street.
deal with.
They park out in the field. It's like
Yeah,
half a
right.
mile
I
out
just
there.
was wondering if there's any traffic issues on it.
Well, my wedding, it was,
No problem.
yeah, Charlie was there.
It was,
not-
there's more parking there than,
Well, it wasn't
Fenway.
parking, it's a case of a lot of traffic coming off, turning off on that corner and stuff. I'm not trying to, say anything against it,
Yeah,
but
just say the neighbor across the street's gonna bring up, boy, you're gonna bring in a lot of traffic.
So I think it's just.
So it's something
you need
that's
to
gonna
deal
be a
with when you
discussion
make
of
the
it.
application. How are you
Right.
gonna deal with the traffic? How is
Yeah,
traffic gonna
right.
get in and into and off this?
Right, and it may be as simple as, okay, if you're gonna have a wedding that's gonna have 200 or 300 people, maybe you have a detail at the time that, people are all arriving.
Right.
Everybody's gonna leave at different times, but maybe you'd have a police detail. It might be things like that you might come
so
up.
do we do that when we have fireworks down here?
We
When
do.
we have 400,
We do.
1,000 people down at the thing?
We do.
We have a detail and all
We
that?
do, but it's a town
It's a
event,
town
so,
event.
but the police are all over it.
I understand that, but it's not a made thing. They do it because that's what we do. But my point is, I mean, do we do that? Do we do that because it's required by them, or do they do it because it's something that they do?
No, I would think it is required. I think it's a pretty, really busy, and I think, it's getting into the evening, there's a lot of cars, and the police really do facilitate down there, making sure people are moving, make sure they're not parking where they shouldn't, blocking traffic, things like that. And I'm always saying if, it may be something that could come up that you want, if they're all coming at one time, maybe a detail. And I'm only bringing it up, I think, just to help address, a neighbor's issue that might have a problem with, well, what happens if they have a wedding there at 400 people? And I don't think it's a big deal. I just said 200 plus people for a family reunion on my property, and it wasn't an issue at all, but, I got a pretty big driveway off Route 16, so everybody got off, and they all came at different times. But a wedding, they might come at a specific time, and so maybe you might want to do something. If it comes up, maybe think about how you might want to address that one. Well, I think we'd vote for it, Charlie, in no way, shape, or form,
Yeah,
but.
and I think like on the design, like you probably want to show where people would come on and off the property for parking, right?
Yeah.
Just, maybe depending upon sight lines on, what, north and south of 153, it may be,
There's already a driveway there.
okay,
There's
so,
already a
so,
road.
so, and if that's what you're gonna use, then great, then you'd want to show that to the board and any public that.
And right, and there's a lot of knowledgeable people in town about state driveway accesses, so make sure you have your driveway access, and, that the state, they may ask you to update it. Somebody in town may ask you to update your driveway to say you're gonna have now a quasi-commercial venue at the farm. Even though it's still farm-related, so you might wanna try to cover that basis, possibly, but,
Who
you
do I
can
talk to
take
about-
your risk.
Who do I talk to about that stuff?
The DOT.
DOT.
State,
Okay.
you can come downstairs, we can look at the numbers, people to contact.
Just want to cover those bases before you come in with the application, and then because we're gonna have a public hearing. Whoever wants to come is gonna come and say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, I mean-
Whatever questions, and you want to have the answers up
Right.
in advance.
I'm sure you guys have heard and seen what's gone over in Brookfield over the last 10, 15 years about Tumbletown Farm. He finally got it right now, and I think he's finally got the town behind him and what he does. But at first, there's a lot happening over there with a lot of traffic, which he may be or may have, I'm not sure, but there was a lot of people there trying to shut him down. And we don't want that to happen to you guys if, this is something good, I think. There's definitely a need for wedding venues, especially on beautiful properties. And those issues might come up. So number 6, the use will not place excessive or undue burden on town services and facilities. You guys are on town water and sewer?
Just town water.
Just town water? I wouldn't see it being an issue. Police and fire, I don't know. There would be no significant effect resulting from such use upon the public health, safety, and general welfare of the neighborhood in which the use would be located. You know, and that's just subject to your neighbors, basically. You know, we can have our opinion, but we're gonna have to listen to what they say at least, and see if it's, you know,
Yeah.
sustainable or not. Sustainable.
So maybe something to think about is, how many events would you hope or expect to have annually, right? And if that's 10 or if that's 100, you know, some people may think differently depending upon how many.
Right, have those
So some-
answers, because you could
Yeah.
have a neighbor out there saying, oh, how many events they gonna have, you know? and-
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, so that's, I
Kinda
mean,
tough
how
to-
do you choose
What
that?
is-
And then if
yeah,
you say
sure.
10 and you have 20, now somebody's gonna be
counting them and getting mad at you.
mad.
No,
So,
but
right, man.
realistically, what's the most you can have?
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna
Yeah, it'd
be
be
every
52
weekend.
weekends a year.
Well,
Right, yeah.
realistically, it'd be, you know,
52.
yeah, be a little chilly. June to
Yeah, you can
October.
rule out winter.
Right,
No.
so yeah, just a rough, it might, just an idea. I think
Yeah.
Doug's got a point, that
Right.
you have a rough
And
idea how
only-
many
and
you
it
think
would-
can I have.
Only be on weekends.
Sure.
So those are the 7 criteria. I think, you know, I think street stuff, people parking the street, you know, making sure people can get off the street. And noise a little bit for your neighbors, things like that, what they think. But I know the bond's pretty far back off the road, and there's no neighbors to the left or right. You may have a few across the street, but
I don't think they have any street parking.
No, it'd be,
No.
it'd be off the street.
yeah, and I think that those are some of the things you want to make sure don't happen.
Yeah.
I'll make sure you say it, 0 street
Yeah,
parking.
yeah, there wouldn't be any.
You know,
There's no shoulder anyway. There's
No,
nowhere to,
nothing.
you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
So I guess what do you need from me next? Because I have no
Well,
idea.
you'd have to formally apply for it, and all the butters will get notified, and
Apply for,
the conditional use
Conditional use
permit.
permit.
okay.
So which would, we'd set up a hearing, so it'd be public
And I
notice.
talked to you?
Yeah, come on
Yeah.
down, we'll
Okay.
take care of you.
Yeah, public hearing, and we notice to all your butters, and we come in and pretty much go through those 7 criteria. You know, show us, you know, a diagram of where people are gonna park, some of those things that are really gonna be helpful.
Okay.
maybe even invite your abutters to a little meeting to yourselves before you start it, so you can get the feeling of which one's gonna complain.
I already know.
I know, but I'm with you. You know,
Except his daughter got married there, so.
yeah, so I think, you know, just getting it out on the table before you make the,
Yeah.
so you don't have to deal with it in the public eye as much as you get it out, and then then it'll be straightforward when you get here.
And anything else agriculture related that's permitted, I don't really need to ask permission, correct?
If it's already permitted, unless it's a business of some kind, you might need some kind, you know, site plan or something like that, but no, you can sell stuff, farm stand, whatever's in the zone, and you can do.
Yeah.
You can have hoofed animals.
Okay.
You have a pig farm.
You could grow corn. I know how hard you had to work at that for a little while, or vegetables there for a little while.
Yeah,
I saw it.
not a lot of fun.
It wasn't.
All right,
No, you're all set.
all righty. So, yes, I just talked to you.
Yep, come on down.
Okay.
Just one quick thing. Anybody from the public got any comment on it? Not hearing any. We're all set.
Sounds good.
Unless you guys got anything else, Dick? You got anything?
All righty. Thanks, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See you, Bill.
Guys leaving us? Oh, you guys know Al or something?
Yeah.
Hi, Al. So we have one more conceptual review. And it's for Al Nichols for a family compound up at 1014 Pine River Pond Road. Tax map 42 lot 13. Hi, Al.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. So does everybody know where that is?
Yeah.
It's up before, what's the name of that road down
Lake
the right?
Laguna, just
Yeah.
before Prairie Hill,
Yeah, and there's one
On
more
the
road
right.
before that.
Elliot.
Elliott Road.
Elliott Road, it's called? The little short dirt road there?
Yeah, that's actually the part of the subdivision, when they subdivided that comes off of my land, which is here.
I see.
This is the map.
Okay.
This is, which I talked to Vinnie about. There's the, Victor on the property. And this is a layout that we have. Proposal is to put another structure 819 feet back. Okay?
Okay, so what he's got blocked and out of current use, the rest of the property is in current use?
So this is out of current use?
Correct.
Correct, with
Yeah.
one family dwelling on it.
Yeah.
And what I want.
So that's a family dwelling in a garage, is that, or a barn?
So
That's a garage.
this the property
Personal
line?
garage.
That's the property line, yeah, and it goes.
All right, this
this
is a driveway or something?
That's correct. That's why
Okay.
they asked me to write the driveway.
Yeah, sure.
Which is existing now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it goes back to the back part of the property, which is right here.
Back there where you got more stuff?
All the way back, right here. Right here. This is the map, Tom.
Yeah.
Comes all the way back, and it opens up here and goes back 25 acres further back.
Who's living back
This
here?
is my road. This goes all the way back, and this is where the yurt is.
Where the what is?
Yurt.
Yurt?
Yurt.
Yurt?
Yeah.
You got a yurt back
I got a
there?
yurt back there.
Cool. Is it close to the brook?
No.
No? Don't come near the brook?
No. And instead it goes back, and this is where it opens up for another 25. I'm gonna go back in.
Does the snowmobile trail come on
Yes,
into
it
your
does.
land?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it crosses right about in here somewhere. And as I said, I want to put a structure, we're gonna put power down there. But I want to get you're okay before I go ahead and do anything. And
So you
Yeah,
think,
so it's allowed. There was just some suggestions that myself and Cindy, he had spoke to Cindy in assessing because of the land being in current use, he'd have to take obviously some of it out of it for the project. And he wanted, it's gonna be a house for his daughter, and he was thinking of setting it back over on this side. We just threw a suggestion out that which is great, allowed, no problem, but you'd be landlocking this back here. So we thought, and the intent is the land will be given
In
to
the
your
family.
daughter and to the family.
Correct.
And that was good, but maybe they might sometime down the road want to use that land, so maybe you might want to think of a flag lot or future subdivision. I was just throwing that out there, so that's why he wanted to come in, and I just wanted to make sure I was giving him the correct information. I think you had said you wanted to place the house
correct.
right over in this
800,
way.
it's 890, it's right there.
Which, I mean,
319 feet back.
Yeah.
That's whereabouts you want to put it.
Correct.
As long as it meets the setbacks on the sideline setback.
Correct. Plenty of room.
With that being said, I mean, you thought of the family compound thing, that
I've thought of it since my kids were born, is to be able to find a piece of property to be able to set them up so they don't have a mortgage the rest of their life. And that was the whole ordeal of doing this.
right.
you could actually even have three.
Yeah,
You could have a third.
yeah,
As opposed to subdividing the land and
right.
Right,
I don't
right,
want to
yeah.
subdivide the land. Now, whether my kids do when I die,
Well, the
I
thing-
can't answer that.
In the family compound, it's recommended, it's not required, but you kind of set it up so that eventually, if it ever changed hands.
Well, it can be
could become-
subdivided
Exactly,
into
right.
different lots.
Which the plan he wants to do would work. But like I said,
But
that
in the
would
family
tie-
compound, is there a specific amount of frontage you have to have?
Not, only in the shoreline district for the water frontage.
How much road frontage do you have?
396 feet.
And so, if we were talking about just straight subdivision, could he subdivide that land into?
He'd have to put a road, have to put a road up to town specs.
Sure.
So
Okay.
it's
That's what I was
396 and he needs 200 feet? What zone is it in?
Agricultural.
So he needs 300.
No,
Agricultural is what I got.
no. Road frontage is only 200, still, I believe.
Not in agricultural.
Not that he meets.
Not
that
that
he
he
needs
needs
it,
it, but I believe
Right,
it's
right.
300.
It's 200, I don't think we have anything 300. It's
Yeah.
200, it's 5 acres.
That's on.
But it's only
oh,
200
okay,
feet
so
of
it's
front.
5 acres,
Okay.
not 300.
Yeah. And you could also do a cluster, which you could have 50 feet of frontage
Yeah.
if you wanted.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, this is
No,
not.
you don't want to do that.
No.
I think the family compound in this case
It's
would
great.
be a great idea, especially if somebody, that's what they want. But I think there are a couple options someday in the future that if your kids
Well,
did
that's
want
what he
to
brought up,
subdivide it, because then you got to sell the whole property as one still.
But I don't know who, I haven't got a couple $100,000 to build a road all the way back here to town spec to be
Right.
able to do that.
Right.
So,
Well,
you know,
but you could, right now, you could subdivide it into a
Well,
flag
not so much
lot.
for you, but maybe, what does the
Right.
future hold?
Right.
Yes.
Down the road.
Yeah.
And this is, just so you know, I've seen it in other towns that have done this, okay? And they didn't have an ordinance, but they let somebody else put another house on the property. You know, back maybe even before zoning, they put another house on. They had 2 houses on the same property. So then all of a sudden, somebody come in and say, we're gonna condominiumize it. So now they're gonna sell it as a condo and this, it leaves a lot to, you know, your kids to be doing something different in the future. But if you did subdivide it, it's pretty cut forward, you know, set in stone that, okay, you own this one, you own that one.
I see what
And
you're
if you wanna sell one, what do you mean I can't sell it? It's on Dad's lawn. I'll condominiumize this, I'll sell it,
Yeah,
you know.
I know where you're going with it.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, 'cause
you
I-
do what you want. I think the family compound's a good thing, and I think families should try to stay close together if they can. But
It is actually mentioned in the family compound about, that, if it is ever deviated from that and used as something else or different parties, that code enforcement could come into play.
right, if it's not for family compound, but if there is other
Right,
issues,
yeah.
you can rent it.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. It's
You
gotta be
can't.
just family.
I thought there was something in
Can't
there
rent it,
that
and it's
said
also
that they-
restricted to family members, and it's immediate family, and it gets specific right in the
So,
zoning.
do you have an idea how big of a dwelling?
Structure?
Yeah.
We've looked at a couple of one. One is 40 by 40.
Okay, so you're talking substantial. The only reason I ask that is, there's the accessory dwelling unit zoning that if it was a much smaller structure, maybe that would be an option. But it doesn't sound like it would be, because what's
It would
the?
have to be attached.
See, what you gotta understand is, Alan,
An ADU.
Alan is
An
truly
ADU.
making
I'm
this
talking
a
about
family
an
compound.
Yeah.
ADU.
Yeah,
You know, so these houses, this is strictly
That's-
a lifelong.
That's what
home.
Russ keeps telling everybody, that you have to be attached.
No, well, this is from Sega, that our zoning says that they are not allowed.
so
Yeah,
maybe.
without a
We
variance, excuse me, without a variance.
we disputed that.
All right, let's stay on.
We disputed
Yeah,
that
so
and said it
let's-
is allowed.
So,
So-
He doesn't want that.
He doesn't want that.
But let's just be clear though, that Alan this is truly a family compound.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is no hogwash, this is what this man's wanted to do for
Separate
as long
house,
as I
separate,
can remember.
separate, another separate driveway, separate septic, so he's
Separate
meeting
well.
all the
It
criteria.
doesn't need to be though. I
It
guess,
doesn't, but it's recommended in case
Sure.
of,
Yeah.
But he
if
should,
If
and
he
he
wouldn't
knows
want to
that.
subdivide it, then that would give you the opportunity,
Right.
or the kids, or their kids
Right,
down the road.
right. Yeah.
So what you gotta do?
He's good to
Do
go.
anything.
He's good, come in and pull a permit
Yeah,
for
building
a family
permit.
compound.
Okay.
But just understand the zoning, just read it, good, Hal.
I have, and I said, as he said that we're gonna talk about
And that's what.
enlarging, taking away from the current use and adding more property to this.
Sure.
So we're gonna pull, it's like 11 acres now, we talked about the other, Cindy and I, which I'll come down either tomorrow or Monday. If I got the okay from you guys to go ahead and move forward, I can make that into the, start with that procedure, then I guess the test pit's the next thing, once I get the permit and stuff from you guys. So, I guess I
I
just
think
need
you're
to.
good to go.
But, you know, just from what code enforcement is telling you and stuff, I think it's a good idea to put that house where someday they could, or your family could subdivide off a flag lot.
Okay,
You know what I mean? So keep it somewhere that would work still for a flag lot.
Okay.
You know what a flag lot is?
yes, I do.
Well,
So-
without a road, without road construction.
Right, without road construction, you could subdivide it.
Right.
But you got 396 feet. They
Right.
might even give you, you know, 2 lots with
Yeah.
that amount of land. If you wouldn't subdivide it again, give you a variance for 4
Okay.
feet.
Okay,
You know, possibly. But just keep that in mind when
I
you,
will.
which it looks like you are, because you're not
Yeah.
putting the house
Yep.
behind your house.
right.
So, but even if you put it behind your house, you could still even do a flag lot, as long as you put it far enough back that this is gonna meet the current zoning.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
your front
It
house.
still has to be a 5-acre lot.
It would. If
Okay,
it's-
now what about, if, say, just for talking, they tell me I can only have 3 dwellings on this place.
Yeah.
How could I put another building on there afterwards?
When you say
If you already
building,
have
mean
3
a
on there.
A residential?
Yeah,
Well, so on that one piece of property, based on the current family compound, you couldn't.
okay, I don't
right?
want
Is
to, but I'm
that-
asking
is
you that.
Your interpretation?
Yes,
Why building?
It's three dwelling units per family
Right.
compound.
Yeah, so he
Correct,
should put another.
correct.
You can put a third.
Oh, yeah, you could put a third.
That's what I mean.
Not a fourth.
Yeah.
I thought you were
Yeah.
asking.
So,
No,
so
no,
is the yurt,
The yurt is.
Is not
complete.
considered?
It's dismantled in 6 hours. There's no heat, there's no water, there's no electricity.
So it's not
So
considered
it's not
a dwelling?
like
it's
your
not
place upon the
considered
mountain.
A dwelling. It's not
That's
a
cool.
dwelling.
no, that's good.
Have you ever seen that? Pretty neat.
Oh,
how they
yeah,
go
no,
up.
I've issued a few permits on them in my past. Yeah, no, I think that's all neat. I didn't realize that wouldn't
Yeah,
be
they need
considered a
just
dwelling.
Setback after day before. It's a temporary structure.
The tent.
No
It's a
kidding,
temporary
good,
structure.
Do you want
good
to
for
say
him.
non-binding conceptual, so I put that in this section?
Yes. Just so you know, anything we say here is non-binding.
That's fine.
That you say or we say.
I heard you say that
Thank you.
earlier.
But looks
Well,
to
we
me
won't
like you're
expect
all
to see
set.
you back
Okay.
here for approval of it. Because you don't need approval.
But you keep in mind, as far as what you're doing current use-wise,
Mhm.
you know, you can do, you know, you could take some of what land here that you have in current use. Is this 5 acres, do you know, roughly now?
4.5 acres.
That's 4.5 that you have there, so you don't have enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
Like
do you-
if you already had 7 acres in current use,
Okay.
you'd only need to take 3 more out.
Okay,
If
okay,
you wanted to do that,
okay.
you know, but if you only got 4.5 now,
Yeah.
then you.
Why, because you need 5 per
Correct.
dwelling?
Yeah.
Correct. Out of current use.
Where's the 11-acre thing come into play?
Well, how many acres will you have left if you take 11 out or 10?
25 and a half.
So you would have,
So you have plenty to
Yeah.
keep in current use.
you'd be having a total of 11 acres out of current use? Is that
Correct,
what you're-
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll have 15 or another 25?
Another 25.
Yeah.
On the backside, like he
Sure.
said, it would be landlocked if I
Yeah.
didn't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it'll ever be landlocked if.
The
until
kids
you
can
go-
use it to do
Yeah,
whatever
but
they're gonna do.
until you can do, you know, do some kind of subdivision, that's
Yeah.
all.
Okay,
Yeah, good for you.
well, thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Guys is easier.
Yeah, there you go.
What's your name?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna,
Peace out.
Take care.
I apologize for not asking you if you had any opinion on any of these, but Al's still here if you got an opinion on his.
I agree with you. He's listening.
Thanks, Don.
For Buddha, but I don't know if we have our members here or not.
So next is sign Tony Bodie's boundary line adjustment, then we got approval of previous minutes of June 20th. Can we approve those? Who is here? Do we have those?
Yep. Yeah.
You don't have 3 voting members
For the minutes.
for the minutes.
No.
Have to wait.
Doug was here, Tom was here,
Yeah.
So
and John Blackwood sat.
How many do you need?
about 3.
You one, two?
That's it.
You weren't here.
There's only- there
You
was
gotta
only two
be
of
at
us,
the meeting.
Oh, you-
Yourself and.
Oh, I see.
Doug, Tommy.
You were
Can't
playing
sign
hooky.
this either.
Karen.
I did.
Can't sign that either?
Well, let's see.
Was
For
that-
boundary line adjustment.
I think we can sign it. We can sign it, we can have Dave come in and sign it. All right, Dave will come by and sign it for you.
Get her done, I like it. If anybody wants, I've got the notice of decision in the minutes if they want to look over it.
Yeah,
The pins are in the ground,
They
pins
are?
are marked on the drawing.
Okay. I think that was the only thing, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Vicky, you'll date that. Can you date that?
What's that?
Date it.
Oh, yeah.
Is that even considered paper?
What?
This is
This?
plastic.
Is it Mylar? Is that what they call this?
What is this stuff?
Mylar. What is the date anyway? Doug, can you state that?
10,
7/11?
Remember to
11.
take this?
11.
Vote on this, I guess it doesn't matter.
Right.
You need a,
Few minutes, we'll take up next meeting. And, we got correspondence, Eversource conditional use permit application.
okay, so Eversource, is putting in a line from Rhines Road down to Sanbornville substation. They currently have a right-of-way, this is alongside the tracks by the transfer station, all the way down.
Where they cut all the trees.
Right, exactly, and they're right away,
Okay.
prepping for this line. They're adding a line and structures, so, I mean, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up.
Sure.
I mean, it's the first one, it might have a lot, there was 46 abutters, so there's a lot of public involved. Did you want to have Garapi or anybody, or it's just a conditional use permit? I just wanted to ask and see if you wanted counsel or anything like
It's
that.
46 abutters. Somebody gonna ask a question and we're not gonna know, but
So.
like, all right, it's gonna
So what do
emit
they
all
get
kinds
the-
of
what
things
is the
from the
permit
transmission
for?
lines.
To put the line in.
And why,
For power,
Are they
right?
on for the next
Oh.
meeting?
no, I understand it's for
Yeah.
power. If it was Eversource, at least here, that's the only thing they do is power.
but why do they need a conditional use permit? Where in the zoning are they required to get a conditional use permit? That's my question. Hang on, go ahead.
I don't know, they just came to me
So-
with
They
it.
came
To be
before the
honest.
Conservation Commission the other night, and I'm Secretary of the Conservation Commission, and it's wetlands situations. They're going by the train tracks. They're going from Rhines to Cosmer, and they've got all their ducks in a row as far as how they're going to handle that. They're not crossing the river, so I think the conditional use has got something to do with the wetland, which is pretty well dried up now, but they're using all kinds
Mats.
of mats and, you know, they're putting steel poles in instead of wooden poles.
But no, like, additional power is coming, like, it's probably the same amount of power that's coming in, or going to be coming into town.
Three-phase, that's all I can tell you.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's an update of what we got. of
Sure,
old,
right,
right?
right, but I don't, my hunch would be it's not some massive transmission line that they're building so that they can pass more power down through Wakefield, because it's gonna come from Canada at some point, or.
4,200
The northern
people,
fence.
Yeah,
substation and transfer.
There's a brief, if you'd like, I can read the brief.
Sure, sure.
Okay, so the work involves the construction of a new 35.5 kV distribution circuit line. 3157X is what they're calling the line. It's going to run from Rhines Road to the Sanbornville substation with an existing utility easement. As part of the proposed work, 15 new structures will be installed along the line 3157X, and 16 structures will be replaced along line 362. The new structures will consist of directly embedded steel monopoles.
All right, so the structures, they aren't building any buildings, they're putting up
That's correct.
poles.
Poles.
And that's pretty low voltage. That's not a transmission, that's sub-transmission,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
local transmission.
All right, but tell me about why they need a conditional use permit. What did it go under in our zoning? Like,
Yeah,
Public
that's what-
utilities, I believe.
so there's a public
Yep.
utilities section in the
And,
zoning?
yes. Yep.
And that's permitted, huh? Public utilities is permitted?
Hope so.
So, you know, we are only by
All right, so
permission.
let's see, no, that's personal. Public utility. So a public utility, residential 1, 2, 3, business, commercial, village, light industrial, all zones require a conditional use permit for a public utility. Want to see it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So if they put a pole line down a street in the public way, they have to come and get a conditional use permit?
This isn't even on the street, it runs along the, it's
No, I
on the
know, but
land over
suppose
the
they
railroad.
were in the
I-
street.
It's,
Yeah, it doesn't-
I don't know, I just follow the
You
book.
need a
No, I
you
just-
need a permit to do everything. Plain and simple.
I didn't write the zoning, Joe.
No, I know.
So the answer is you need a permit.
Well, I
Come
mean,
and
you
see
know,
us and we'll figure out which permit you need. We know there's a permit, we just have to figure out which one it is.
But that might be, like,
So-
they could be proposing to put in poles that are 300 feet tall, which the planning board could then say, well, geez, maybe you don't really need to do that. What are some other options? So I would assume that if some of the public, or any of the public is here to talk about this, they may have questions
Yeah,
about,
no,
like,
no, I-
what are these
Right,
poles gonna
right,
look
yeah.
like? How high are they gonna be? Are they gonna be any closer to my property
Yeah.
than the current
Right.
poles are? Like, stuff like that.
it is running over private property
Yeah,
too.
and then that conditional use aspect gives the public a chance to hear before it happens
All right.
I think it's a
and
good
talk
thing.
about it.
Well, it looks to me like it's 109 feet, the poles.
Okay, I have no idea how that
How
compares
much
to what's
is in the
there.
ground?
That's,
It seems high. doesn't
Well,
it?
I would
Yeah.
assume That's what it says here.
This is,
So high you won't be able to see it.
what I'd like to do is I think Victor should reach out to Mike Garabine, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
just
agree.
ask him if he's ever been involved in
Sure.
this type of thing coming in front of a town and what Mike
That's
knows.
existing, or is that?
That's what it looks like, I would imagine,
And if Victor
because that's a
thinks
steel
Mike
pipe.
would be helpful, I think he should come.
Yeah, I agree.
But if Victor doesn't think, Mike says, there's really nothing you can do, they could do what they want, they're being very nice coming through and
But you guys,
letting you
you
know.
guys think we would want it to happen.
Well,
It's not my, you guys let me know, you know. I will definitely talk to Mike.
Well, if you want, I can talk to him, but I think he can handle it.
Okay.
You can make that decision for us. You can
Yeah, I
decide
don't,
whether Mike.
whether it's worth the money to have him here.
And he's gonna tell you.
Put
He's-
that in the minutes.
I don't,
Just give him
yeah, I don't,
decision.
yeah. I don't think Mike's gonna tell you, he's gonna give you an eye wash just to come up here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's not gonna just try to come up here because, oh, wow, here's an opportunity to come to Wakefield. He doesn't make a lot of money, I don't think, when he comes up here. He's up here for a few hours and that's it, or
Yeah,
2
no,
or
I
3
agree
hours.
with that. He's
I
gonna
think-
steer us in the right direction, and, you know, it's,
I agree, and I'm sure he's been through this.
Yeah.
He's worked in a lot of towns and does
Yeah.
a lot of stuff down there.
See, they're showing you how they make the platforms to
Yeah,
cover
yeah,
things and
sure.
and travel with that machine that they do.
Yeah, and I
the
think
mats.
we're apt to get a lot of, some abutters with transmission lines, or how much does it emit?
How they're gonna
You
see
know.
it, and how they're gonna see it. and all
That's
that.
right, and the waves off these transmission lines,
So they're
somebody's
quite-
fairly
they're
close
quite
to it, a
prepared on
house.
how the property maintenance and management.
But I'm sure Eversource is gonna have those answers too,
Oh, yeah.
when they're here.
They
if
got
they're
it right
putting
in
in
the
any
book.
additional culverts, I have no idea if they are, but, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
No.
I don't think they're touching, and it does say it's not allowed in wetlands. In our thing,
that
and that's why they went to the Conservation Commission, because they read our zoning, obviously. And I'm sure the poles, it might be a pole in a wetland, I'm not sure, but.
What did they say what it does? Does it take away other poles, like the ones down on the side of the street?
I believe it says they were gonna, let's see,
I mean, what's the general purpose of it? Are they gonna remove others to take them
all
off
right,
the
so
road?
as
or-
part of the proposed work, 15 new structures will be installed and 16 structures will be replaced.
So does that
The
mean
lines.
that
So,
it's an additional 15 from what's there,
Or one?
you know, right? Or one?
They're gonna put double
Yeah.
lines in.
Here.
Yeah, I'd say
They're
that it's
running
just
a
adding
new,
one.
basically, they're running a new circuit to back up this area.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay.
they're doing.
we like
And
that.
they're doing it over the
Like
same
that.
right of way that they already have.
Salvages?
Yeah.
I can send the minutes to everybody if they
Well,
want
it
to
won't be
see what
redundant,
happened
it'll
at
be,
conservation.
it could be redundant, but because every year, people use more and more and more electricity, it's
Yeah.
bringing another circuit in
Yeah.
with additional power.
Okay.
Or the size that one will carry,
Yeah.
that's already
Yeah.
there.
And
Or
they're
maybe,
probably putting
maybe the
out-
one that they have isn't working adequate
So they
enough,
can see what happened at
you know?
conservation.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's probably what, you know,
Sure.
I'm sure it's an update thing anyway,
Yeah.
just to get
It's
for
an
the
it's an
future.
upgrade to the system in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's on the agenda for
They're
next.
doing that all the way across Middleton
Yeah,
and
that's
all that,
Thursday,
that's all
22.
new.
I'll send the
All right.
conservation.
This is steel.
So that's on for next
So
Thursday.
what was the conservation, why was conservation? Because it was within a wetland and do
They
we-
wanted the conservation's backing to come before the board and request
Yeah.
the wetlands aspect of it.
Yeah, so if you can
I'll
get
send
it,
you the minutes.
that would be great.
I'll send all you guys the minutes.
I don't
for
wanna discuss it
conservation.
much, we
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
really discuss something before we,
But that's okay for me to send you the minutes of the
Yeah.
meeting. I'll do that.
But that's a second piece, it's not just that they need a conditional use permit. There must be a wetlands issue that they also need to deal with, that they want us to deal with. So Mike needs to look at that as well. It's not just the conditional use permit, apparently. At least that's what I hear you saying.
I don't know,
I-
it seems like they've got the wetlands issue, well, you don't want to talk about it, so.
yeah, I don't think we can.
I'm assuming that they've done their research, so, I mean, they got a book here.
They
for
had
you
all
to
their
follow.
ducks in a row.
Money is not an object.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
They spent some money just
Just
researching
putting
it.
this together, yeah.
And I'm sure it's all good. Nice book. I mean, pretty informational. Shows you just what it all is.
I'll entertain a motion. Unless anybody else has anything else, Donna or anybody? no more public comment because they're all left us.
What's the plan for this board for the future? I mean, it seems like we deal with just what's in front of us. I mean, but do we have any,
Plans
Things-
of planning?
planning?
Well, I would love to, we could talk about planning to clarify, seeing how our code enforcement officer does not want to keep it clarified the way we want it clarified. The conditional use, or not conditional, the
ADU?
ADU, accessory dwelling unit. Accessory dwelling unit was put in front of this town, and we used the state ordinance, got put in front of us, and everybody said, you know, out there and all kinds of things, that there were gonna be all kinds of duplexes popping up all over town. They're not duplexes, they help families, they help older people, and that was the premise that we put in front of this board and we put out to the voters. And it passed just the way that it was written. Now there's some discretion in how it was written, whether they're allowed detached or attached. And it was always this board's
So why don't you just make that decision?
situation.
I wanna hear this.
It was always this board's opinion, when we voted it in, we go back and look at minutes, that detached ADUs were allowed. Whether there's some wording that an attorney and a building code enforcement officer can use to stop it is another opinion, which I don't personally like. Go
So
ahead.
you're saying, okay, we all agree that the attached ADUs are allowed. You're saying detached are allowed also? I thought in the meeting you said they were not allowed. And when Rick
Absolutely
Sager was
not.
here, and I asked Rick Sager, the way he read it, just for enforcement for my own, he's saying the intent, and I believe Dick DeRoche, I can pull minutes out, the intent of that was not to allow detached ADUs.
No.
You didn't-
I don't remember.
Okay, I'll look at the
Yeah,
minutes.
so we look at the
I don't
original
remember.
minutes.
Okay, so I'm
So-
just
so
totally,
I would-
so we're sending
so-
people to ZBA for variances now for nothing.
So I wouldn't agree with that. I would say, based upon what our town attorney is, how he's interpreting it, you need a zoning, code enforcement need to follow that. Now,
Follow
then
what? Can you
follow,
follow?
But why follow
Rick's,
him?
follow Rick's advice.
Yeah, but why
Based upon-
follow that
so
when
hold
the
on, hold on.
intention was that?
So I think as a board, we need to go and fix that.
Yeah.
We need to fix the zoning, put it before the town, and change the wording of that zoning to reflect how the board wants it to be, right? Because that
Yeah, but
seems reasonable.
It does seem
and that's
reasonable,
something that
but
we
my
should work
point
on
is,
this year.
why is it his interpretation of
So
that,
there's-
when you have the board members here that were a part of it, their interpretation
The way
says
that, the
different?
way it's written, there's some contradictions in the wording. I
Yeah.
think we
So,
can
but you
agree
can
on
use the
that.
contradiction either way. You can use them either way,
Fine.
and
so,
our attorney
Our attorney-
gives us an opinion.
correct.
We make the decision.
Well, what was it, okay,
We
so
make the
R2
decision.
On the
So-
water is allowed.
No, it is. And if we want
So-
to go and change that, like we
Right,
talked about,
okay.
we could change it next year to
So-
say it's not allowed in
Well,
R2.
I apologize to the board. I
No,
thought,
I-
I thought
no,
I heard
don't
a few
apologize.
members say that
Yeah,
it
they were.
wasn't allowed.
That's possible.
And so,
That's possible. I don't know
So,
if we ever had an
Doug
official
is
vote
right.
on
I
it or
think we
not.
need to work on this one and
I-
clear
right,
it up. We
right.
tried
That's
to
why I
do
brought
that
it up.
last time, and I think we tried to do too much with it.
Correct,
And it scared everybody off.
yes.
So,
Okay, so
I
what's the
agree.
procedure of doing that? Do we read it in front of us and determine the lingo of it, the meaning of it, and rewrite it?
yes.
Yeah, it's
Well,
not even rewriting it,
put
it's like
public
modifying it a
hearing.
little
I mean,
bit.
if you guys come up with something and.
Yeah.
How many,
bring it-
how many are in front of you guys right now? How many people are asking for an ADU attached or unattached right now? Or how many of people have been in, if you can guess, roughly, been in?
I can't, because we got,
Throw out a number, is
Pending.
it 10, 20,
so
or
we've got a
one?
couple, we got, what, we just did one for, the Keatings to allow the detached because of.
That was a ZBA.
Yeah, that was
So
ZBA.
Oh,
they-
I'm sorry.
So they went
Yeah.
for a
But I mean,
variance?
that,
Well, yeah,
yes, so they went for the variance, so that was one. I think we got two more coming up pending.
For
Um,
going to the ZBA.
And then a few more that we haven't got building applications for, but we've heard they'll be coming on So,
Are
I
they-
mean, if
what
we
zone-
don't have
what
to send it
zones
to
are
the
those in?
ZBA, then that's fine, you know.
So are all of those in R2?
We're gonna have one coming up in R2,
And they're
I
asking
believe. We're just in
for a
communications
detached?
now.
What is that too?
Waterfront.
Right, it's on the water side, yeah.
500 feet around all the lakes. So,
The problem with this, well, I don't wanna get into that yet, but, yeah, we got.
This is what, this part of the session, we need to fix that,
Right.
because it seems
Well,
to
that's
be
what,
an issue.
so what we need to do is start talking about it now, you
Yeah.
know, a little bit, work it out, and then,
I
because
think
we're gonna,
you're
it's
in the
gonna
right
require a
track,
couple public hearings to get through it.
so we're
Get it
halfway,
on-
we're halfway through the year.
I think it's a good time to start.
All right, but staying specific to the ADU, there's a lot of things we maybe, or
Yeah.
a few others
Let's
that we
take
want
one
to try
at
to
a
do.
time.
If we stick with the ADU, do we put it on the agenda and have a board vote now, or do we wait and try to change it? Just say we're not successful in changing it, and then we go another whole year doing the same thing? I think right now, if Victor researches the minutes of when we approved this zoning ordinance as written, when we approved it as written back, you know, what went before the town, we know what went before the town, because that's in our zoning. But when we approved it, we all talked about whether it was detached or attached at that meeting. And we agreed to leave in that you could have a detached unit. Because there was a lot of homes out there that have garages that are not attached, that the people could build it over their garage. So there was a lot of discussion about it, and if you could find the minutes that said that our intent was to have them detached and attached in those minutes,
You got it.
we have a board vote on the thing, and we can tell you guys that this is the way we want it to go. And I don't see a problem with that. Rick can be
Well,
mad at us.
I
he
think
can be
the
mad.
risk, so my opinion is, the risk is a neighbor that may not want someone to put a detached unit in could then read the zoning and say, you guys never should have allowed this, I'm taking the town to court.
That's right.
So-
We have the same risk now the other way. The same risk, Doug, the other way, right now.
I'm not.
Of course we
really
do. We
buying
have
that.
somebody that wants to do it,
So-
and he
so-
can read it that way,
so-
except for our zoning, our code enforcement people
So,
right now are telling it's not
I
allowed.
think as a board, we can fix this and we can stop arguing about it and we can fix this and put it in
We
front of
tried
voters.
last year.
But as for if something comes in front of Victor tomorrow, he should be able to answer them now, and then.
Based upon what it is now,
What it
yes.
is based
He
upon
should-
that.
He should be able to do that, correct.
So, look at the minutes, then you can make your decisions, and then we
Well,
will,
or
we
you-
will revamp
Or you
that.
could bring the minutes in, and then we can
I will
call a
bring-
vote the following week. We can even post it, that's gonna be on our agenda,
Okay.
that we're gonna
Yeah, you're right.
clarify
You got, was it
detached.
17, 16? The
Could have
year?
been 15. You could see, go back and see
No, I
when the
don't think
state
that
did
was
it.
that long, wasn't it? I think it was just before I came, or maybe
Yeah, it was probably
17 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
You-
Just
Okay.
look at
I-
the-
I'll-
you
I'll-
find that
I'll
when
get
the
it.
state-
I just want to make
Just
one
find the
statement
warrant that says it.
to get into the minutes. Is I am not neither for or against it. I
Yeah,
for
no,
every, you
yeah.
know, it's just for code enforcement.
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
You know.
It's
so-
all good.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately.
We wanna
I think
clarify
it's
it for you
great. I
guys.
think it's a great idea for the community.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the detached, I think they should be allowed personally, but, you know, I don't follow the code enforcement part on my opinions. This is what I go by,
Yep.
Wakefield
Yep.
zoning ordinances and the
Yes.
state RSA's.
Yes.
That's why it should be, it would be a good thing for you to read the minutes, so that you
Yeah.
can make your judgment on what it says, and then bring it to us so that we can all read it, and we'll read it aloud, and
Yeah.
we'll
You
either
got it.
vote on it,
I think
and
it's a great idea.
me too.
All right, so then, next thing as far as planning goes, what else do we have? You guys have anything? I know we talked about a couple of little, you have a small list of some housekeeping items you wanted to take care of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it with me at this time.
That's okay.
Okay, but I mean, definitely, I can bring
Yeah.
a few more things.
Yeah.
Right,
You know, I'll
and-
write it out and bring it.
Well, I
to
think
the
it's, like you said, it's halfway through the year, we need to be starting to do
Yes.
this, because
Yeah.
another 5 months will go pretty quick.
Right,
Yeah.
and I saw something on our agenda, but they never showed up about maybe changing some zoning at 109 and Route 16.
Yes, right.
And I never saw that.
Yeah.
Keep coming, but,
Yeah, I'll reach out to her because I think she would have been encouraged
Yeah.
from what the board was talking
Yeah.
about.
well, and
You know,
in
the
my mind, it should
possibility.
be commercial all the way around that whole intersection.
It is
But
already, I
that's-
mean, you know, the businesses are there already. so,
Yeah, they're all there.
Let's,
Yep.
look, I agree.
It was put into place to keep out Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, what was the comment about Brookfield? Brookfield, for some reason, and I didn't
Yeah,
understand
it's
this.
Brookfield's gateway. That's
Yeah,
their entrance to their town, and they didn't want anything commercial there. It's the same
You know,
gateway.
but
They
the point of it
seem
is
mobile too.
It's already there. All
Yeah.
businesses
Yeah.
are there, so,
Yeah, it is.
you know, change the zoning and
Move the gate,
they're good, right? Yeah.
move the gate, put it on their line,
On their line.
and we'll worry about that.
There you go.
Yes, I
That's
like
my
it.
point.
Absolutely.
But I think we should look into that, and that's planning in my mind. I mean, what we do is, yes, we have to administer this book, help you
Correct.
guys administer this book, there's no doubt. But,
Well, I just, you know, I'm trying to keep,
I mean,
keeping people out of court and the fees and, you know, for the residents, that's what I'm thinking of, you know. If we, you know, it's like the ADUs, you know, we send in people to get variances when they don't have to now. So I think it's an excellent idea that, you know, maybe I'll bring one or two if you'd like each meeting.
Yeah.
you know, like,
we could discuss
we worked
that
on-
I find in there.
we worked on the solar
Sure,
thing.
my partner has a list too.
Just not the campground one.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
How about,
Like a year
I'm-
off.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that might come from elsewhere, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good with that too.
We haven't had a lot of things that were, where there was a real, other than the ADU. And that wasn't around a specific case, that was around trying to clarify something. But
Yeah.
we haven't had a lot of folks before us where there was, other years we've had, oh, well, it's really not clear and, you know, about that. So we have to make a decision based on unclear language. We haven't had a lot of those this year.
Yeah.
I don't recall that many, I don't recall any actually, where
Well, I
we
think
looked
it's-
at the
I think it's the
regulations
board
and said,
members that are
"Oh,
getting
it's
more clear of how it works to begin with. You know,
So what else, planning wise, do we send out a little letter to the townspeople and say,
Well, I think you
what do
need
you think, Wakefield could look like in 10 years? Or what would we need for infrastructure for Wakefield to be in 10 years? And I can be willing to bet that most people in town would say we want it just the way it is.
Seems to be
I'm okay with
the
that.
general opinion, yes.
Right, so there's no like, you know, making, you know, 4 lanes and straightening out 153. And there's no east to west corridor further up north, you know, to go from Route 16 to 153.
As long as
I
it's
don't-
not in Wakefield.
Right.
Everybody'd be in favor of that.
Exactly, I don't think those are, you know, even though that's what you think sometimes is planning, you know what I mean? But I don't think that's necessary or is it ever gonna happen here. I think we like our country town, there's no doubt about it.
no, but for the people in it, there's gotta be some deregulating. If we're gonna keep adding, we need to deregulate at the same time. That's all I'm saying. It just seems like there's a
Put one in,
lot
you gotta take
more.
one out, is that what you're saying?
I think,
He says put one in, take 2 out.
yeah.
I like that.
Well, it should be that. There's a lot of nonsense ones that just seem unlogical to me, but,
So why don't you make a list of some of the nonsense ones and we can look at those? That,
you wanna start?
how many pages you want to rip out?
No,
No,
I'm
it's
not
grab the
against
whole
the
book.
thing. It just seems to me sometimes, just tonight alone, the farm up here. My God, it's a farm, it's a running farm, it's a building, they got a half a mile of parking, and they were nervous about coming in here.
Not, well,
Well, they shouldn't
you
be.
guys, I
I
mean,
hope-
they,
I hope-
if,
I-
well,
No,
they must
but-
walk out of here pretty feeling
Yes,
pretty good, 'cause you
exactly.
bought, yeah. So
I'm
what's
just
the
saying-
problem? That's the process, you
Yeah.
know? Rather than,
Just doing.
what do you want, just, you know?
No, I mean, but it just seemed like it could go south very easily. And it's just deregulating a little bit
Well,
to
see,
make
the
things a little
problem,
more.
okay, so here's one resident that wants to do something, I understand that, let's give that to them. But how about, you know, the other 4,099 residents in town? Don't you think they should have an opportunity maybe to, and that's the purpose of this, that's if they need to have a site plan review, then people get to, the public gets notified, they get to speak about it.
Yeah, and
That's
without-
kind of fair,
without really
isn't it?
speaking specifics on any case, right? I think the idea is, to me, a big part of it is the abutters and the neighbors or the neighborhood gets a chance to hear and speak and ask questions.
Yeah, but
before
that's not
something
what
goes
I'm
in.
saying. That's not a regulation. That's just a procedure.
Well,
And that's
it
what
is
this
though,
was,
but it is though,
you know?
because in certain things, they'd have to come in for a
Otherwise,
conditional
there'd be
use permit,
no
right?
place for the neighbors to come.
Otherwise,
You
right.
could do- Before zoning, you didn't have any place, you could sue them if they did something you didn't want them to do.
Yeah.
But now there's a place where if you want to put a place, the farm's a good example, I think. Perfectly great idea, terrific location, but the neighbors ought to have the opportunity to come in and say, well, just how many cars are you gonna have coming down the street? You know, what about,
How late might this be operating?
yeah, is it
Things like that.
gonna be midnight
Yeah.
and you're gonna have music playing next door to my house?
Yeah, no, it'd be-
It may be perfectly fine, that's what they're gonna do and they got a right to do it, but the neighbors ought to have a right to at least know in advance. I think that's all it is.
And
I mean, you could have a board that was, and there are boards, because you know, both of you know, from your work, that it's no, 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 no. They got regulations to prohibit.
And that's all I'm
people
trying to
from
say
doing
is
stuff.
we want to encourage
Encourage,
this,
right, right.
these
Absolutely.
things.
Right.
These things get de-encouraged because it just, you know, there's, you know, people don't want things, but these things should be, you know, especially a wedding venue or just having the fireworks party, that all should be encouraged in this town to move forward and bring to the public. It's good things,
Yes.
you know? No, I don't want a, you know, some hoot and howl thing that sits at the top of the hill overlooking Salmonville, but,
Perfect
That's not-
example, so, you know.
no, I understand, and
Right,
and the
yeah.
process worked, and it worked out good, and I just think we have a good board. If this wasn't that, I'd be squawking a lot more. I think the board is very, very open to suggestions, and I like that.
Well, and I think a lot of people would feel that way too, if they either came to the meetings or maybe watched a meeting or read some minutes.
Yeah.
You know, instead
I
of
just-
just
I just
hear
don't like to
say on the
discourage
street.
people.
And then that's, because that was my big thing. I heard, oh, Wakefield's unfriendly to businesses. You
Well,
know,
and it has been in the past,
to some certain.
to some
But
certain.
you know
correct.
what? Anybody is welcome, and if
That's
it's
what
allowed,
you
then
wanna
please come,
encourage.
you know.
And I think that
And
you,
speaking of that,
for
did
one,
you see Melissa's
and-
sign on 16?
Yeah.
Looks good.
that looks
you know.
great.
New dealership coming in, so
Yeah,
this is done
that's
in
great.
business, so
Yeah.
great.
That's all I'm trying to say, is that we
Yep.
should
No, I
encourage
totally agree,
things.
totally
That's all.
agree.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
You want it up for discussion?
Discussion.
Join us.
We've adjourned.
All those in favor?
Aye.